Poverty in America. Poverty has found its niche in the platform of national debate in the United States over the past several decades. Now, there are many factors that can lead to a household falling below the poverty line, but the five biggest factors that I read from Dr. Bartle's article called The Factors of Poverty are ignorance, disease, apathy, dishonesty, and dependency. According to Bartle, for a society to reduce or remove poverty, they have to identify these five factors and work to eradicate them. Now, there are ways that our government has in order to lower the poverty level, but some would argue that more can be accomplished with the same amount of resources. Some also believe that there's no such thing as the elite top 1%, and some also say that poor people are only poor because of poor spending habits. I'd like to take a moment of your time to explain how poverty in America can be reversed over time by eliminating offshore tax havens, revising programs to aid the destitute, and by bringing jobs back to America. Now, before we get into it, first we have to define poverty. The official poverty threshold is updated yearly by the Census Bureau. Now, according to the Census Bureau, the poverty line for 2018 is a yearly income of $12,140. A couple other surveys that the Census Bureau has made found that 40% of people living under the poverty level could not afford to buy food multiple times during the year. And 38% of the same citizens had a full-time job, and 40% said that they found it difficult to get by on their income. Now that we have it defined, let's talk about a couple solutions. The first possible solution proposed is to eliminate offshore tax havens for corporations. According to Dr. Browning's article called A Made in America Offshore Tax Haven, the U.S. Virgin Islands are a financial paradise. According to that article, as current law stands, tax havens are not only perfectly legal, but Congress encourages corporations to take advantage of them. An example of an offshore tax haven would be the U.S. Virgin Islands. CEOs of companies build tiny offices and declare residency in these islands to funnel all of the corporation's profits through the office front. The islands offer up to a 90% reduction in U.S. corporate and personal income taxes. Also, according to Browning's Newsweek article, some companies like Auckland Financial Corp handle as much as $435.1 billion a year, while only being taxed 3.37% instead of the normal corporate tax 35%. Now, that's just one company. If Congress could step up and force corporations to pay their fair share of taxes, this would shift the weight of tax burden from the middle and lower class to the upper class. If these companies had to pay a more realistic percentage of tax, the United States government could have hundreds of millions of more dollars to put towards programs like welfare that aid citizens living in poverty. Beyond eliminating tax havens, another possible solution could be to revise programs that assist those living in poverty. According to the States News Service article, Fighting the Poverty Cycle in America, a couple different examples of these programs are called Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Program and Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Now, some members of the House of Representatives have been calling for reforms for these programs to incentivize people to work instead of stay on welfare. The way that the programs stand right now, as soon as a member of these programs gets hired for a job or even simply gets married, they're considered ineligible and they lose their benefits immediately. It seems like the system is punishing them for trying to better their lives. If the United States government could revise these plans and change them to continue to aid people while they slowly got back on their feet, America could see a dramatic decrease in poverty. Now, the last possible solution would be to bring jobs back to American soil. According to Sawhill's article, The Connection Between Employment and Poverty Rates, poverty has a direct correlation to the country's unemployment rate. Providing more job opportunities to those below the poverty level could significantly decrease statistics of poverty. Some companies have already taken initiative to start to bring jobs back to American soil. According to Bodell's article, natural gas could bring overseas jobs back to the United States. Chemical companies like Dow, Formosa Plastics, Shell, Chevron Phillips, and Westlake Chemicals, just to name a few, plan to create nearly 1.2 million incremental jobs by the year 2020. But that's not enough. That's only a couple different companies. Many more would have to follow suit in order to see a real change in poverty levels. Maybe if it really comes down to government giving incentive like tax holidays, or maybe medical companies giving coverage reduction costs to companies that have certain percentage of their employees covered. Now, if we implemented all three of these, what we could potentially see is an eradication of poverty. Now, if you could just imagine everybody living, nobody would be in poverty, everybody living financially stable, and that just an eradication of poverty, there'd be no more poor people. It would be like a utopian society. Everything would be perfect. So to bring this all full circle, eliminating tax havens, revising government programs, and bringing jobs to America are all viable ways to decrease or eliminate poverty in America. But the most feasible way for you to personally get involved in the fight against poverty would be to call a local politician, contact them, get involved in local government, maybe brainstorm with your politicians ways to end tax havens, but still give incentive to corporations to bring jobs back to America. Or you could talk to them about revising programs, attend town hall meetings, or even run for public office yourself. Ending poverty is up to society as a whole, after all. Thank you.